Okay. Okay, there's a couple of bills. Let's start with just a few bills on. We've got two lists, 56, 57. Let's see if we can jam this out next hour, and then we're really going to be in good shape here as a committee. Okay, let's go to. I want to start with 1511, House Bill 1511, Forest Conservation Act. This is I think a high priority for MACA folks and all the rest. So we've held this a couple of times. Darrell, why don't we start with the Forest Conservation Act from Delaware Law?
Yeah. So I believe there is an amendment either in front of you or it's being handed out to you. What House Bill 1511 essentially does is it delays a number of provisions from chapters 541 and 542 of last year relating to forest conservation and retention. It pushes back the effective date of that act from July 1st, 2024 until July 1st, 2026. It had been mentioned during the bill hearing that the reason for this was to allow, I believe it was the local governments, more time to kind of deal with the preparations, the requirements of last year's bill. There will be an amendment before you which addresses some effective dates. This is all very technical stuff due to pushing back the effective date of certain parts of chapters 541 and 542 from last year that had the accidental knock-on effect of repealing certain terminations relating to the Tree Solutions Now Act from 2021, which was not the intent. So substantively, the effect of House Bill 1511 is that it pushes back the vast majority of chapters 541 and 542's effective date from last year to 2026. There is one other, I guess, substantive amendment in the amendment when it comes around to you. There is a provision in, I believe, last year's act which related to afforestation and allowed for an exemption from afforestation requirements for certain solar companies. I don't know if there's supposed to be somebody from DNR here who could better address this.
Dom, I mean, I know this is a big MACA thing. Yeah, why don't you just come up and if there's some questions? I know, again, MACA's been very involved with this bill.
It should be handed out. I don't know which package it's. Yes. Yeah.
So do you want me to address the solar?
Sure. Yeah. So just briefly, what the solar does is it's
Yeah. So in last year's update to the Forest Conservation Act, we negotiated that solar was going to have certain exemptions. Those were still going to go into effect as negotiated last year, this year in July 2024. In the bill before you with the amendments, we want to extend all of the deadlines except for that one. So solar will get their exemption starting this July. All of the other deadlines from last year's update will be extended to 2026. So effectively with the bill and the amendments, that's what you're voting on.
Just to build off of that. So there was an exclusion from the exemptions in chapters 541 and 542 that said the exemptions didn't apply to solar voltaic facilities that have been granted a certificate of public convenience and necessity before July 1st, 2023. As drafted, HB 1511 would push that provision, the date in that provision back to July 1st, 2025, which would mean that they were now 2 years or solar voltaic facilities who had been granted these certificates in the 2 years who previously believed they would be exempt, who would no longer be exempt. The amendment corrects that. So the date would stay July 1st, 2023. So only the solar voltaic facilities who received a certificate of public convenience and necessity before July 1st, 2023 would not avail of the exemption.
That sounds correct.
Yeah, it's very technical and date specific, so I do apologize.
So just to summarize, I'm completely clear. We're keeping the date the same for the solar companies.
Yes, correct.
And then we're pushing back everything else.
Correct.
2 years or forward.
Correct.
Thank you.
And the amendment and the bill look quite complicated. There were some issues with existing provisions expiring and sunsets not being repealed and all of this stuff, but that is the summary, and the amendments address the technical issues that had arisen.
Okay, any additional questions for Dom or for Dara or anybody else? Questions? Okay, is there? Okay, Senator Augustine moves the amendments, and we've got a second from the vice chair. Discussion? Okay, all in favor of the amendments to 1511, raise your hand. All opposed, those amendments carry. We now have in front of us the bill. Okay, 1511 as amended is favorable from Senator Augustine, second from the vice chair. Discussion? All in favor of 1511 as amended, raise your hand. That bill carries. Okay, Alexis is still just got past traffic, so she's not here. So let's, Stacy, why don't we go, let's go through your list. Let's go back to, again, voting list number 56. And why don't we start with the Prince George's County delegation bill that's in your portfolio, House Bill 838.
House Bill 838, Prince George's County Family Child Care Home Expansion Grant Program Establishment. This bill establishes the Prince George's County Family Child Care Home Expansion Grant Program in the Prince George's County Public School System to increase the number of registered family child care providers, family child care homes, and large family child care homes in low-income communities in the county. There are no amendments, and this committee has received a local letter.
Move favorable.
Favorable from Senator Augustine from Prince George's County, the second from the vice chair from Montgomery County. So it's a love fest by county here. Okay, no amendments. House Bill 838, Prince George's County. All in favor, raise your hand. Local bill. All opposed. That bill carries unanimously. Stacy, let's stick with you. Let's just go down your list here on the numbers 56.
House Bill 902, Pre-Kindergarten Ulysses Curry Head Start Program Eligibility for State Funds. EEE is the secondary from B&T on this bill. This bill establishes that a provider in the Ulysses Curry Head Start Program is eligible to receive full state funds under the full-day pre-kindergarten program, even if the program receives federal funds. Also, an eligible pre-kindergarten provider in the Ulysses Curry Head Start program is exempted from including specified structural elements that are evidence-based or nationally recognized as important for ensuring program quality in order to qualify for full-day pre-kindergarten funding, if a structural element under the program conflicts with a federal requirement for the Head Start program. There are no amendments, and B&T voted this bill favorable 11-0.
Second.
Okay, we've got a Senator Carrozza on House Bill 902 from the bill coming from B&T, second from the vice chair. House Bill 902 in front of us. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed. HB 902 carries unanimously. Stacy, why don't we go down to this Washington County matter? House Bill 971.
House Bill 971, Washington County Interscholastic Athletics Student Eligibility Waiver and School Classification. This bill authorizes the Washington County Board of Education to waive the eligibility requirement for high school interscholastic athletics that the student be enrolled at and attend a member school if the student attends a public school in the county that is not the student's own school, the public school that the student attends does not have an interscholastic athletics program, and the student meets all other eligibility requirements established by the County Board of Education and the Maryland Public Secondary Schools Athletic Association. For purposes of determining the enrollment-based classification of member schools for athletic contests, the Washington County Superintendent of Schools must report to the MPSSAA as an actual enrollment of a member school, the actual enrollment of grades 9 through 11 as of September 30th of each even-numbered year, plus the actual number of students authorized to participate at the member school under the bill. There are no amendments.
Okay.
They sent the letter.
Yes.
Okay, move favorable.
Okay, Senator Augustine favorable on House Bill 971. Second from, there are no amendments.
No amendments.
Okay. Okay, second from Senator Carrozza. All in favor of House Bill 971 from Washington County, raise your hand. All opposed, 971 carries. Okay, Stacy. Now let's go to Dara.
I have one last bill on the
Oh,
list.
where
It's
are
on
you?
the second page there. HB 1492.
Oh, missed that. Okay, we have a second page, everybody.
House Bill 1492. Oh,
1492.
sorry.
Yeah, House Bill 1492.
My apologies.
Yeah.
House Bill 1492, Education, Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Student Information. This bill is identical to SB 1042 as amended by the House and concurred to by the Senate. This bill alters the requirement that each public school that administers the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery, or ASVAB, select option 8 as the score reporting requirement to prohibit the general release of student information to military recruiters, and instead requires local school systems to notify students and their parents or guardians 2 weeks before administering the ASVAB of the option to withhold the release of a student's personal information and ASVAB test scores to military recruiters. There are no amendments.
Okay, we got a favorable from Senator Watson, second from Senator Carrozza. We've got House Bill 1492 in front of us. All in favor of House Bill 1492, raise your hand. All opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Speaking of bills that are same as the cross files, can we go back to number 57? House Bill 1465, I think it's a cross file of Senate Bill 196, which we passed unanimously over Delegate Wims's bill. Dara, why don't we just refresh everybody's memory about this bill from Senator Gallian's bill?
Yes, so this bill is identical to Senate Bill 196. So House Bill 1465, Soil Conservation Districts, Small Ponds Plan Review Fees. This bill authorizes a soil conservation district to recommend a fee system to a local governing body to cover the cost of the district's review of small pond plans and establishes procedures for the development and enactment of a fee system. There's no amendment or opposition. Senate Bill 196 passed this committee and the Senate unanimously in the exact same posture as this
Okay.
bill.
Okay, favorable from Senator Augustine. There's a second from Senator Hester. All in favor of 1465, raise your hand. All opposed? That bill carries unanimously. Let's go back, Dara. And we're going to let's just go back to the list on all yours. And then I'm hoping that the moment you're done, Alexis will
All right,
show up.
I'll speak slowly. So House Bill, please note, House Bill 437. Vote list 56. That's okay? So Maryland Zero Emission Electric Vehicle Infrastructure Council membership. This is the cross file of Senate Bill 553. As mentioned yesterday, and if you look at the standalone sheet with the table in front of you, there are a number of differences between the posture of this bill and Senate Bill 553. Most of them are non-substantive. Rather, House Bill 437 codifies the council. As I said yesterday, there are a number of reasons for doing this. First of all, generally uncodified substantive provisions should be codified if they are to remain in effect for 2 years or more. The council has been in existence for 13 years. There were a number of issues which I had discussed yesterday about members on the council erroneously being removed in 2021. Codifying the council would prevent against this happening in the future and would provide clarity from a drafting standpoint. Within the membership of the council, again, a specific initiative or association representatives are replaced with representatives from a new vehicle dealer association with regards to Maryland Automobile Dealers Association. And then there's a replacement of Baltimore Electric Vehicle Initiative with the language of representative from an electric vehicle driver advocacy organization. There's also an additional representative from the environmental community added. All of those changes had been made in 2020, but were removed accidentally by Chapter 607 of 2021 in what appears to have been a drafting error at the time.
I just,
Yeah.
I'm just for my understanding.
Yeah, it's quite complicated.
The Senate bill, which the House has now passed.
Yes,
Is that what we sent to them or
they have made the
modified it?
changes so it looks like how House Bill 437 is before you now.
Okay, so they conformed Senate Bill 553 to
To House Bill
House
437.
Bill 437.
Yes, so they
And so-
codified it and they made the representative language more general and.
And so now the decision for us is just trying to get where we're supposed to be. Is do we do that or do we stay with our original language? Is
Okay,
that what you're
yes.
saying?
Can I just say, so Senator Quarterman, I mean, he would like us, we passed 553 unanimously out of the committee.
Stick
He was
to it.
like, just, conform the House bill to look like the bill that we passed unanimously.
with that.
And see where it goes. So that would be the easy way out. We passed it unanimously and whatever they did with all these changes. But Vice Chair Kagan, I mean, we don't have to do that. I'm just telling you what the sponsor, Senator Cordman, suggested we do.
So the one thing, so it looks like there's a lot that's identical and not different. And thank you for the chart, Dara. That's very helpful. The fifth one down, the House bill adds another representative from the environmental community from 1 to 2, and the Senate bill keeps just 1.
So the only thing that I would say, Vice Chair Kagan, is we're gonna have a shot at that because it's coming to us. And we can send back ours and we can still talk to the House. Is all that I would suggest. I mean, since Senator Corderman has asked for us to try to press
Fine.
for
I'm
his version.
just flagging for colleagues that that's a difference that could be significant.
Might be another one where between now and whenever we can have another conversation with Senator Quarterman on the floor even but
That too.
I would say the simplest thing for us to do is just stick with our unanimous vote bill and then send it back their way and let's have a
Yeah.
further conversation about 1 or 2 issues. That could be,
That,
okay, so
I
with
would
that,
move to conform to the Senate bill.
okay, so we're moving to conform the House Bill 437 to the Senate Bill 553 as passed unanimously by this committee. Is there a second from Vice Chair Kagan? Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. That carries. And so we've got 437 in that amended
I
form.
just want to clarify one thing.
Oh, okay.
Which is so that includes uncodifying the council again, just make it look exactly like it looked.
I'd say right now, let's just
Okay.
have it look like what we passed out and then we'll continue the dialogue with the 2 sponsors from the House and Senate, Yeah, I don't think it's bill's worthy of too much more chat about it. Okay, so was there a second? Was a second?
We voted it.
We did, we're good. Okay,
Mhm.
let's move on. And for the benefit of the body, at least the Democrats here, there will be a Democratic caucus meeting at 1 p.m. and floor will now be 1:30. So the Senate President has advised me to let everybody know about that. Okay. So now let's go back to Stacy on a holdover concurrence that we left off from yesterday.
Right.
Stacy.
This is SB 250, County Public Libraries Overdue Library Materials Minors. On your desk in front of you is the reprint, including all of the House amendments. So everyone can take a look and see what fees and fines are in the bill and determine whether this committee wishes to accept these changes or to go with the version that was sent to the House. SB 250, it's a standalone reprint of the bill with the House changes. The House added what's called a reserve fee, meaning any amount charged by a public library to an individual for failure to collect library materials that have been placed on hold. And their changes include a public library may not charge, instead of a minor, an overdue fine to a minor or for library materials intended for children and teens. So that means it couldn't be charged to an adult if the adult was late with returning library materials intended for children or teens. A public library may not charge a reserve fee that's added by the House to a minor or for those same types of materials, or this paragraph applies to a previously borrowed library materials that were borrowed by a minor. And then a public library may not prohibit an individual from borrowing library materials because the individual failed to return previously borrowed library materials until 21 days or more after the date the library materials were due. So they did add quite a bit to this bill.
A recommendation? Okay. Got a
Wait, there's
motion?
no amendment here. This is a
Oh,
concurrence.
This is a concurrence.
So this would be
Yes.
concurring with the House amendments.
Okay, we have a motion to concur from the Vice Chair? Yes, well, let's get the motion to concur in a second.
I'll
Motion,
second if that's-
second from Senator Augustine. Okay, questions now to Senator Hester.
I mean, I understand not wanting to find people, but like now we're like really down far in the weeds, aren't we? I mean, it just seems like, I mean, if we now do the reserve fee? Like, are we come back next year and do like another fee? Like, where does it stop? Is kind of my question.
I understand this to be a fee
Your
for
mic.
addition, not adding a fee.
Okay.
So here's what's good and different from the way it came in. Here's one of the many things. So we had said, I think this might have been legislation from last year about you don't get your fee back. If you've paid a replacement fee, you don't get a fee back. And now if you look on the last page of this bill, lines 27 through 29, it's if it's in good shape and you return it within 6 months, you get your money back, which I think is great. So it's shall. And last year, unless it was last month, I feel like it was last year, we said, yeah, you may not get your money back. It was optional. And now it's like, yeah, if it's within 6 months and you haven't messed with the item, you can get your refund. So I think there are a lot of improvements that have been made. Stacy, I said that right?
Yes.
Okay.
So one question.
Senator Carrizo.
So we're getting into this level of detail and telling the county, so this is what the county libraries now have to do?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, additional questions before we could take a roll call on the motion to concur? Yes, Senator Simoner.
I'm sure the amendment's somewhere here, but did I hear that if somebody requested to have a book held that, so the public couldn't have it, and they're holding it for them, and the time expires and normally they charge them for that, that they will no longer charge them a penalty or fee for that under this amendment?
Right. My understanding is only a couple libraries out in Western Maryland actually have that type of fee, and it would only affect those libraries. I mean, it applies to everybody, but only those libraries actually use that particular fee. Correct.
So Western Maryland wouldn't be able to do that anymore.
Correct.
And it just goes to, you're taking it away from the public. And there's a disincentive not to do that. And now we're going to say you can just hold a book for 6 weeks, no penalty. I don't understand that logic.
Okay, we're gonna go to Senator Watson, then Senator Lewis Young.
Yeah, so Stacy, it just looks like to me,
Mhm.
this is going to remove some revenue seen by the libraries. I'm trying to find through the fiscal note, what is the impact of that?
The law already existed that prohibited the charging a minor a fine for overdue library materials on a minor's library materials. So this was a departmental bill. So essentially the library's board came in and said they were on board with this policy. I mean, these changes from the House are different than what came in, but my understanding is that they are fine with these changes. But this is just expanding on language that was passed by this committee and the House 2 years ago.
Right, and so the overall goal was just to ensure that minors who check out books, if they're late, they're not charged a fee, and they're not charged a fee for reserving a book, literally taking it off the shelf so anybody else could use it, right?
My understanding is the entire purpose of this legislation is utilization of public libraries by young people and to encourage that. And it was determined by the library folks, according to their testimony, that this was a barrier to use, and the revenues were not significant enough for them to feel that it was to overcome that burden or barrier.
Okay, thanks.
Clarification.
Sure.
One is for that removal and not getting a penalty. Is that any person or is that just a minor?
It says prohibit an individual from borrowing. Oh, are you talking about the reserve fee?
Yeah.
A public library may not charge a reserve fee to a minor or for reserved library materials intended for children or teens. So it could be charged to an individual who is taking out just a regular cookbook or something like that. But if it's only for teens and young children, then no, you couldn't charge for those materials.
I'll just spice it up a little. We just passed the Freedom to Read Act. And so now this bill will allow people to take books and basically ban them with no fee by taking them off the shelf, basically. So just an interesting concept.
Okay, additional comment? Oh, Senator Lewis Young, and then we'll go to the vice chair.
Thank you. This language interchangeably uses the term minor and teen. I think of a minor as someone under 18, but a teen could be 18 or 19. So that could be confusing.
Okay, any additional comments? Vice Chair Kagan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Stacy, I had asked during our first consideration of this bill about the length of a period of reserve. And I said if someone was sick or out of town or whatever. So I guess since there's going to be no fee, I mean, going to Senator Simonair's remark, I know that I can't reserve something for 6 months. So, but I imagine there's a variety and we want to keep that flexibility that some libraries may do a reserve for 3 days and some for 3 weeks or.
I don't think the bill addresses that per se. So each library or count or system might have its own policy. I don't think that's addressed by this.
And I think that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, guys, we need to take a position and we have we're going to do a roll call. Any other questions? And we'll just roll the dice. It's on the whether to concur or not. So the only issue in front of us, we had a motion, a second, is whether to concur with the amendments that Stacy described, and whatever the will of the committee is the will of the committee. And if anybody needs more information, but we need to just make a decision here. Okay, so we had a motion. We'll go around the horn and we'll see where we fall. Lamoria.
All right, Senator Kagan.
Thank you. I think the House has significantly improved this bill. I vote aye.
Senator Kagan, yes. Senator Augustine. Yes. Senator Augustine, yes. Senator Watson. Senator Watson, yes. Senator Lewis Young.
Yeah.
Senator Lewis Young, yes. Senator Brooks.
Yes.
Senator Brooks, yes. Senator Carozza.
No.
Senator Carozza, no. Senator Hester.
No.
Senator Hester, no. Senator Washington.
Yes.
Senator Washington, yes. Senator Simonair.
No.
Senator Simonair, no. And Senator Feldman.
Okay, yes, the motion carries. Let's move back to you, Dara, and Alexis is close by. I think she's in somewhere in the building. Okay, we're gonna go, Dara, next on your list. Let's go, Delegate Chi 1055.
House Bill 1055, Environment, Highways, Salt Application. This bill requires each state agency, county and municipality to maintain certain records of its highway salt application and submit a report to the Department of the Environment on or before July 1st each year on the annual highway salt application for the previous fiscal year. There is one amendment, begins on page 3 of your packet. It would instead require the State Highway Administration in consultation with the Department of the Environment and the Department of Natural Resources to adopt regulations to maximize highway safety and take into consideration the negative environmental impacts of road salt, as well as developing a road salt management best practices guidance document. Currently, the State Highway Administration, in consultation with the Department of the Environment, already has the requirement to develop this best practices guidance document. The change in relation to this document would be to require the administration to also consult the Department of Natural Resources.
Yes, Vice Chair. Okay,
Thank
good.
you, Mr. Chair. I was cross-file on this bill a few years ago, and it's important. Salt, the overuse of salt is a problem. It's terrible for the environment. But former Chair Pinsky, I might have said this in the hearing or else I did in my head, wasn't sure that it moved the needle enough. And this now with the chair's amendments, Dara, thank you for your help. I think these are great amendments, totally move the bill, get us the information we need and start to dial back on the overuse of salt, which is so terrible. So I move the amendments.
Okay, motion on the amendment, second from Senator Augustine. Questions on the salt bill? Okay, all in favor of the amendment, raise your hand. All opposed? Okay, that motion, the amendment carries. We have House Bill 1055 as amended before us. Motion, Senator Kagan,
Favorable.
Vice Chair,
Amended.
second from Senator Augustine. Discussion. Okay, all in favor of House Bill 1055 as amended, raise your hand. Okay, oh, I'm sorry, let's do roll call. I went too quick. I apologize. Is there any, okay, let's raise a hand and then we can note the abstentions or red votes. Okay, all in favor of 1055 as amended, raise your hand. All opposed. We've got Senator Carrozza as a red and we've got one abstention from Senator Simonaire. Got it? Okay.
Katie, you go.
Oh, I apologize. Okay,
Amendment.
that's
So
fair. Okay,
I'm
so
going
let's,
to abstain.
that's legitimate.
And I do have a question. I don't know if I missed it, but like,
If I can clarify the.
Here, why don't we do this? Let's strike the whole vote. I don't want anybody to feel like they didn't get the information before they're taking votes here. So let's strike that. Let's go back to you and get some clarification. We'll take Senator Hester's question and then we'll roll it again one way or the other.
What the amendment does is, first of all, it strikes the bill entirely. And then it just adds this provision, pages 3 through 5. Anything that's not in capital letters is already in the law. And this just adds it in. So what it does is it adds the requirement for the State Highway Administration to adopt regulations. And it updates their existing requirement to, they have a best practices guidance document for use by local jurisdictions and the state, which is aimed at minimizing the adverse environmental impacts of road salt runoff. The best practices management guidance, the best practices guidance document, excuse me. Currently, the administration consults just with the Department of the Environment. From now on, under this amendment, they would also have to consult with the Department of Natural Resources.
administration, like. or
State Highway
The State
Administration.
Highway Administration.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. That was part of my question. So the State Highway is still involved in the regulations and best practices. It's
Yes.
not just the Department of Natural Resources.
No, in fact, it is the State Highway Administration is the main actor in all of this.
Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't
Yeah,
tell
no,
that
of
from
course.
the amendment.
And I apologize if I explained it unclearly. They consult with the Department of the Environment and the Department of Natural Resources in developing their guidance document, which has to be updated annually, and in adopting the regulations.
And have we checked with the House cross file?
She is my district mate. I'd be honest with you, I think there has been some back and forth. I have not directly talked to her about this. I think the concern had been expressed that the administrative burden of the reports relative to what we were getting out of it was sort of misaligned. And so this was sort of an attempt to, and so in that form, I think the bill might have had some challenges. So with this amendment, trying to sort of address that in part. So
Thank
I'm
you.
just putting it all there for you. Yeah, I haven't actually specifically, I have not specifically talked to Delegate Chi, who is my district mate. I don't want to make her mad, so I'm sensitive to that, but.
I can just say that Delegate Chi is really focused on the problem of salt, and this will get it done. We'll move it forward. Thank you, Senator Augustine, in a significant way. And so while, even if she hasn't seen the amendment language, I think she'll be delighted, actually. And I'm happy to talk.
If I could also just add, and I believe it was brought up by the delegate in the bill hearing, the 5 largest jurisdictions in the state already are required to report this. So Prince George's County, Howard County, Montgomery County, Anne Arundel County, Baltimore County, and Baltimore City already do this reporting that was under the original bill.
And the original thought on this bill was simply to put the data on the website so that there might be some peer pressure, some educational opportunity. But again, that doesn't move the needle the way this does. So it's a much better bill now, in my opinion.
Okay, enough. I think we've reached our point on the salt related bill. Okay, let's do one more time. There was a motion on the amendment. Let's just do it again. from the vice chair, second from Sarah Augustine. All in favor of the amendment, just the amendment, raise your hand. And everybody can say no or abstain, that's a right. Okay, next, let's take the bill up as amended. We've got the bill as amended. We're talking specifically 1055 as amended. Is there a second from the vice chair? Okay, we're gonna do another roll call. Let's do a roll call and everybody can have their views expressed by the vote.
All right, Senator Kagan.
Yes, yes.
Senator Kagan, yes. Senator Augustine. Senator Augustine, yes. Senator Watson.
Yeah.
Senator Watson, yes. Senator Lewis Young.
Yeah.
Senator Lewis Young, yes. Senator Brooks.
Yeah.
Senator Brooks, yes. Senator Carozza. Senator Carozza, no. Senator Hester. Senator Hester abstained. Senator Washington. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Senator Washington. Senator Washington, yes. And Senator Simon.
Okay,
no.
Motion on the motion as amended, that carries 8-2. Let's go down to we've got Alexis back in the house here, so let's take a quick look through here. Okay, Adara, I think we've had the Guyton bills on the list for several days here, so I think it's time for us to take these bills up. So Dara, why don't you go, let's go House Bill 1097.
House Bill 1097, State Board of Veterinary Medical Examiners, Veterinary Technicians, and Veterinary Assistants. The bill authorizes a veterinary assistant, defined in the bill as a person who aids a veterinarian or veterinary technician in patient care and is not registered as a veterinary technician, to perform certain tasks under direct and indirect supervision of a veterinary practitioner or a veterinary technician under the direct supervision of a veterinary practitioner. No, pardon me. There's 3 tiers of supervision in this bill. It would authorize a veterinary assistant to perform certain tasks under direct supervision of a veterinary practitioner or veterinary technician under the direct supervision of a veterinary practitioner, as well as other tasks under the immediate supervision of a veterinary practitioner or technician. A veterinary technician may perform certain activities under the direct supervision of a veterinary practitioner. Other activities may be performed by a veterinary technician under the indirect supervision of a veterinary practitioner if the practitioner determines the technician is qualified to perform the procedure. Each list of activities is about 13 things wrong, which is why I'm not going through them one by one, but I'm happy to explain further if there are any questions. The bill also alters a veterinary technician to perform euthanasia in certain circumstances. The State Board of Veterinary Medical Examiners is required to develop, by regulation, an alternative pathway for currently employed veterinary assistants to become veterinary technicians. There is one amendment from the sponsor. The amendment strikes Section 2 of the bill, removing the aforementioned regulation requirements. To clarify, direct supervision is defined as being on the premises of the facility, available on an immediate basis, and having given written or oral instructions. Immediate supervision is defined as being in the immediate area and within audible and visual range. Indirect supervision means an individual is not required to be in the same facility or in close proximity to the individual being supervised, and that the supervisor has given written or oral instructions for treatment of the animal patient involved, is available to provide supervision by electronic or telephonic means, and has arranged for telephonic consultation with a licensed veterinarian if necessary. The bill passed the House unanimously.
Okay, questions? Yes, Senator Hester.
So you were just referring to, were on the bill when they passed the House unanimously. Is that correct?
There is additional amendment to how the bill came over from the House.
Okay, where
from the sponsor.
where is that?
It should be for voting list 56, sorry, it's the last page. And what it does is it just strikes the language about regulations from the bill. I believe it was the State Board of Veterinary Medical Examiners had addressed some concerns about the bill, which are now addressed.
Okay, we've got a motion to move the amendments on House Bill 1097. Is there a second? From Sarah Lewis Young. Okay, discussion about the amendments. Yes, I'm sorry. What are you doing there, Senator Hester? Okay. No play. Okay, we have a motion on the amendments on 1097. Okay, discussion, all in favor of these amendments on 1097, raise your hand, just on the amendments. Okay, all opposed. With 1097 amended in front of us, is there a motion? Senator Lewis Young moves the bill, second from Senator Augustine. Discussion. Okay, all in favor of the bill as amended, raise your hand. Okay, that bill carries. We're going to pass over the other Guyton bill for the time being. We're going to go to House Bill 1509 on the back page from Delegate Stein, which is House Bill 1509.
Yep. House Bill 1509, Baltimore Regional Waterway Authority Governance Work Group established. This bill is identical to Senate Bill 1174 as it passed the committee yesterday. The bill establishes the Baltimore Regional Water Governance Model Work Group to review and analyze various topics related to regional governance models for water and wastewater in the Baltimore region. The work group is required to hire independent consultants to meet the requirements under the bill. On or before June 30th, 2027, the work group shall report its findings to the Mayor of Baltimore, the Baltimore County Executive, the Governor, and the General Assembly. There are no amendments or opposition.
Okay, any motions? We're on House Bill 1509, Delegate Stein.
This is the exact same posture
Yes.
as Senate Bill 1171 with the amendments that we added yesterday.
That we,
or that you
that
added.
we did yesterday.
And so then it just would need to be moved just favorable then?
Yes,
Yes.
there are no
Okay, move
amendments to
favorable.
this.
Move
And
favorable.
let me just also add the House bill, the Senate bill, of course, is now in the House Rules Committee. So this is, the vehicle here. Okay, so we've got the motion
Move
clean
favorable.
and a second from Vice Chair. Okay, so House Bill 1509 is before us, clean, favorable discussion. All in favor, House Bill 1509, raise your hand. All opposed? 1509 carries. Let's go back over to number 57, the Speaker State Treasurer Bill. That one still has to go to the Budget and Tax Committee. House Bill 1012. Let's take that one up. Let's go to you, Alexis, on that one. I want to have time for B&T to act on this.
All right, House Bill 1012, state officers and employees require surety bonds, insurance policies authorized. This is a cross-file bill to Senate Bill 775 as it unanimously passed this chamber and body. It repeals the Maryland State Employee Surety Bond Committee and transfers duties to the state treasurer and authorizes those positions covered with surety bonds to be covered to be bonded or covered by an insurance policy.
Okay, this is again in the same posture as the bill we passed, Senate Bill 775. So it's clean. There's no amendments.
No
Okay, no amendments. Motion from Senator Hester, second from Senator Augustine. All in favor of House Bill 1012, raise your hand. All opposed? That carries. Let's go back over to list 56. And we're going to go, let's go to House Bill 999, Delegate Hill, Alexis.
All right, House Bill 999, work group on establishing a science and technology best practices and innovation network. This bill establishes a work group on establishing a science and technology best practices and innovation network consisting of legislative and higher education members, amongst other members. The work group is a one-year work group staffed by University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and is tasked with identifying options for developing an open access science, technology, and innovation hub for the purpose of information and idea exchange. There are no amendments on the bill.
Okay, no amendments on the bill on, on House Bill 999. Senator Hester, do you have any, this is sort of in your alley, any questions, thoughts on House Bill 999 from Delegate Hill?
Also, right?
She did. I can't recall the other one, but I think it's a different one. Do you want to?
2 seconds.
You want
No
to,
comments.
we could come back to that. Okay, why don't we, let's defer until Senator Hester can maybe review it a little bit. And so let's hold this one for now and put it to the back of the calendar. Let's go over to House Bill 131, Alexis, over in the other list from Delegate Stewart.
House Bill 131, Housing Development Permit Applications, Local Reporting Requirements. This bill requires local jurisdictions with at least 150,000 residents to report to DHCD and the Department of Planning annually on building and development permit applications that involve a housing component. Items to be reported include the number, type, and processing time involved in an application. There are no amendments for us to consider on this bill. Submitted for us to consider on this bill. My verbiage right.
Okay, no amendments. House Bill 131, take a look at it. Is there a motion? Favor from Senator Augustine, second from Senator Washington. Discussion? All in favor, House Bill 131, raise your hand. All opposed? That bill carries. Let's go back over to the other list and let's go back to you, Alexis. Let's just start up at the top. House Bill 577, and these have a couple cross files. Actually, House Bill 773 we've had before. This is Gazzoni's cross file from Senate Bill 597, B&T second, 773. There was a question about Senator Gazzoni's. Did anybody chat? Do we have any clarity on?
So I did get an email saying that Senator Gazzoni was okay with the House bill, even though it is distinct from the Senate bill as passed, because the Senate bill currently has been amended in the House. So passing the House bill as before us unamended would align it with the Senate bill, the current posture of the Senate bill in the House.
Okay, so does everybody understand that? So House Bill 773 is in the same form as Senate Bill 597 has been amended in the House, and Senator Gazzoni is saying that he's good with this 773, which is essentially what his bill looks like over in the House at this point. Is that accurate?
That's
so
right. Mm-hmm.
If we wanted to abide by the cross-file sponsor's intentions, it would be to simply move HB 773.
Second.
Correct. So we have a favorable motion from Senator Augustine, second from the Vice Chair. And there are no amendments, correct?
Nope.
Okay, so House Bill 773 clean. All in favor? All opposed? That bill carries. How about House Bill 577?
House Bill 577, Housing and Community Development, Study on the Establishment of a Homeless Shelter Licensing Program. So as a reminder, we just moved to concur on Senate Bill 1107 yesterday. This House bill is a non-identical cross file. And the bill requires DHCD to conduct a study on the establishment of a homeless shelter licensing program. The House bill is distinct from the Senate bill that we just concurred with yesterday, and that the House bill does not require a consultation with local governments, nor does it have the reporting requirement to EEE and ENT. So in order to align the two and, as consistent with the posture as evidenced by concurrence, the committee may want to consider adopting a conforming amendment on this.
Correct. So Senator Augustine's has moved an amendment that would conform this bill to the bill that we passed out of this committee, Senate Bill 1107. Well, just to get the discussion going, is there a second to do that? Senator Lewis on? Yes, Senator Carrozza.
I just want to understand that so we passed it with the local.
We passed it with the local.
And they
added we passed it with the local. It looks like the two bills weren't identical as introduced, which could explain a part of the confusion.
Okay.
But the version that we passed had a consultation with local governments. It did not have a reporting requirement to EEE and ENT. In the House, it was amended to require that report. However, there are two differences now between the House bill and the Senate version that involves the consultation with local governments and the report. The committee only has to deal with the report. Sorry, that's not true. The committee has to deal with the report and the local government piece in this House version.
Okay, I guess I'm trying to understand. So with Senator Augustine's motion to conform to the Senate, does that give the locals more, okay. I
It
just
would,
want-
right, it would be
okay, I just could-
consulting with the locals and reporting to Triple E and ENT.
Right, so our position is more consultation with the locals than what we have.
That's
So
right.
that's the rationale for conforming it to our position. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Okay, all supporting that motion to conform the House bill to what we've passed out, raise your hand. All opposed, that carries unanimously. So we do have a motion we need on as amended on this. And a second from Vice Chair Kagan, again on House Bill 577. All in favor, raise your hand. All opposed. That motion carries. Let's go down to Delegate Johnson. In the 5 minutes we have left, House Bill 859.
This is also a non-identical cross file. The issue with this pertains to the language of a reasonable processing fee versus a reinstatement fee. As a reminder, this bill modifies continuing education requirements and licensing expiration for real estate brokers, associate brokers, and salespersons. So the House bill that we have before us is different from the Senate bill in that the House bill subjects a licensee to a quote reasonable processing fee instead of a reinstatement fee. The Senate adopted the reinstatement fee language. I will also advise the committee that the Senate Bill 564, is awaiting signage on the governor's desk with the reinstatement fee language. And the Real Estate Commission has advised that their recommendation is for reinstatement fee.
Okay, so we have a motion to conform the House bill to the Senate bill, second from Senator Watson. All in favor of that conforming amendment, raise your hand. All opposed. House Bill 859 as amended is before us. There's a motion. Motion 859 as amended, favorable, second from Senator Watson. All in favor, House Bill 859 as amended, raise your hand. Okay. Before we break, maybe we can take this one, Guyton bill. We're holding the Hill bill. Unless you have an opinion. Okay. Okay.
And so I'd like to go ahead and move favorable on
Okay,
the 999.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion on 999. Is there any amendments?
No amendments.
Okay, no amendments on 999. We have a recommendation of favorable from Senator, 999 from Delegate Hill and a second from Vice Chair Kagan. Senator Hester gives it a thumbs up. Any conversation? Yeah, we've got Senator Watson.
So, Senator Hester, I don't see the purpose of this bill at all. It says the way I read this bill, get a group of smart people together and they're uncompensated and they sit until a non-institutional entity comes and asks them for advice on something. I don't see what this bill does, nor what the group that it intends to put together is going to do. Is it a think tank or what? Can you help me out? Because I don't see it.
I think it's for it's for 1 year. Correct? It's for 1 year. So it's to get it up and running and to create this network around innovation and science and innovation and really be best practices. So it could be like a consulting firm.
But science and innovation is so broad. I mean, what are we trying to innovate? The science of what? It is so broad. I just don't see it. Now, I love technology. You guys
I know
all
you do.
that. But I just don't see the purpose or value of it unless I'm an independent company and I want them to do some independent research unpaid to help me out.
But I think what you're saying is like exactly the purpose of the group. Like it's going to be together for 1 year to identify if this is a worthwhile endeavor, to establish a digital referral network of experts in the science and technology field. I mean, personally, I keep advocating for this energy like policy consultants. And if we had, a referral network like that in the state, it would be really helpful. I mean, I hope we get one here in the committee, but
they're focused specifically on energy.
that is true.
Okay, we're going to go to Vice Chair. This is going to be the last matter. I will note,
All right.
Bill there was no opposition to the bill. That's not relevant. Everybody does their thing and did pass unanimous out of the House, not relevant to this committee, just for background.
Both of those things,
okay.
Mr. Chair. Also, in the testimony, the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, University System of Maryland, the Society for Biodiversity Preservation are three groups that came in and endorsed this bill and thought it was worthwhile. So I support the bill.
Okay. We're gonna have to finish with a vote one way or the other. People can obviously vote red, and that'll be will be done here. So we had a motion and a second. Let's do a roll call and then we'll be done. And then I have two quick things before we go to our caucus meeting before we break, but let's do the roll call on this specific bill, House Bill 999.
Senator Kagan?
Aye.
Senator Kagan, yes. Senator Augustine?
Yes.
Senator Augustine, yes. Senator Watson?
Yes.
Senator Watson, yes. Senator Lewis, yeah. Senator Lewis Young, yes. Senator Brooks? Senator Brooks, yes. Senator Carozza?
Yes.
Senator Carozza, yes. Senator Hester? Senator Hester, yes. Senator Washington?
Yes.
Senator Washington, yes. And Senator Simon Ayer? Senator Simon Ayer, yes. Senator Feldman?
Yes, that bill carries unanimously. Okay, two quick. So the two bills we didn't get to were the 1147 Guyton bill and 1264 from Delegate Allen. On that one, I just want to bring your attention. We did Senator Washington had raised some issues. I think we're going to have to defer that conversation for the next time we meet. But you'll see a letter from Mayor Scott on your desk that just came in a short time ago. Apparently, this letter was supposed to be in last week and it didn't get to us, expressing their view on the bill. Senator Washington has some issues. We've got County Executive Olszewski's folks here. So what I'm going to just say, we don't have time now, but I'm hoping that between now and Monday, or whenever we vote again, that the county executive, mayor's office, Sir Washington can resolve the whatever differences there are on 1264. And when we come back and vote again, this will be first bill we take up one way or the other. Okay, I think we have to leave it there. And that with that, we are done with our voting and we are going to have to go to caucus meeting and then floor. Okay, guys?